Hi there. I am here to share a pretty embarrassing story about myself, but I'm hoping that it really helps other people not have the issues and trepidation that I had when we were moving here to Hawaii. And I know I'm a real estate agent, and people are always super, super shocked to hear that I gave buying a house here a second thought. But in truth, we were this close. We were this close to not buying a house here, which is nuts when I look back over our time here and think about just everything that we've done personally and professionally in this market. So, in order for this to all make sense, bear with me for about 2 minutes. I'm going to give you a quick history on my personal background in real estate. In 2009, my husband and I bought our first house. We were stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado. We only actually lived in that house for about 2.5 years because we then had the opportunity to go to Germany, which we jumped on. We kept our house and we rented it out while we were in Germany. And when we were done there, we were given the chance in some miracle assignment to go back to Fort Carson. But our tenants really loved the house. They were military as well. They got extended. So we decided to let them continue to rent the house and we bought a second house. Thinking that this was our last duty station, we were going to retire there. It never hurts to have a few investment properties that generate you passive income. So we bought another house. Fast forward about 2 more years, and my husband calls me and says, "Hey, I just heard from my branch manager. I'm on the list to get promoted," which we knew. If we stay in for 3 more years, they're offering to send us to Hawaii, which obviously Aloha PCS is my podcast, and it is not called that because we are now back in Colorado. We stayed here in Hawaii after retirement, but in that moment, we thought it was too good of an opportunity to pass up. So we came to Hawaii. That being said, looking at our housing options as a military family at that time, I was not a realtor. I had a job working for a doctor and working in hospitals. I had that job for about 8 years. I worked from home. It was super chill. When we sold our two houses there, we made $100,000 doing so, which absolutely blew my mind. I had a decent income. We were squarely middle class. My husband Clayton was an E7. We had a daughter. She went to a good charter school, but nothing crazy, right? Like I had never looked in my bank account and seen $100,000, and certainly not $100,000 that I made from selling two houses, one of which someone else paid the mortgage for, and another one we spent our BAH paying for. So that was a big deal for me. It really got me thinking about why more military families didn't go this route. I was talking to my husband about it on the plane ride, and he basically broke it down for me and said, "Look, the military will give us all sorts of training for everything, but they don't train us or give us blocks of instruction on the VA loan, on investing in ourselves, in home ownership, finance in general." So this really kind of had me seething a little bit. I thought it was crazy that the reason people aren't seeing this benefit is just lack of education. So we landed within 48 hours. I had quit my job. I had decided that I wanted to go to real estate school, get my real estate license, and build an entire company, what is now Finding Home, exclusively helping military families get educated on this. Buying a home is not for everyone, but taking the time to get educated on home buying and using your VA loan is absolutely, without question, something that everyone should be doing. If not, in my opinion, you are doing yourself a disservice because you just simply don't know what you don't know. And I promise you, 90% of every client I've ever worked with in the last 6 years here has started out thinking, I can't buy a home in Hawaii. That all being said, in the moment when we had moved here and I had just quit my job and Clayton was an E7 and we were pre-approved and we were looking at houses, I was nervous, I'm not going to lie, and that's kind of the embarrassing part. Knowing what I know now about the market and looking back at all the people I've helped and the homes that we've personally bought and sold here. We've been here 6 years now. We've owned 4 properties in that time, and to date, I've helped over 500 military families buy and sell homes here. So to look back 6 years ago and acknowledge that I was nervous as a home buyer is just kind of crazy to me. And it's a little bit embarrassing because I was actively going to school to be a real estate agent. That being said, when you look at when I looked at what we were getting here in Hawaii compared to what we had just left in Colorado and the square footage and the price and where am I going to put my 10-foot dining room table and my sectional, it kind of got in my head a little bit and I was sort of freaking out. Our house in Colorado that we had sold, the one that we lived in, was $230,000 when we bought it, and it was 3,200 square feet. I'm looking at houses here in Hawaii that are 1,400 square feet and over $600,000 at the time. This was years ago, mind you. And didn't have room for all of my mainland stuff. I mean, we had two living rooms, we had a full basement, we had a breakfast nook, we had a formal dining room, we had stuff, mainland size stuff. And I just really freaked myself out. And I was like, okay, this is not the way. We were wrong. We'll do something else with the money. Let's at least go look at on post housing. And so to appease me, Clayton played along and said, okay, let's go look at on post housing. So we went to the housing office on Schofield. They took us out. They showed us two properties, both of which were pretty dated. They still had sheet linoleum in them. The kitchens were just sort of like bare bones, basic white appliances. Like it was a house and it was a lot of square footage. I will say it was quite spacious, but the outside was nothing to write home about. One of them didn't have a garage, it had a carport. So I mean, I just wasn't wowed, right? And I had already done the math on, okay, we're E7, BAH at the time was about $3,000 over 3 years. That's over $100,000 that we were going to give on base housing for this house. And to me, it didn't feel like something that I felt great about spending $100,000 on, especially knowing that I wasn't going to get anything at the end. I wasn't going to make any money. I wasn't going to recoup any of that for living in a house that I thought was just sort of meh. So I talked to the leasing person and I said, hey, none of these houses are really doing it for me. The two that you showed us, when can we schedule a time to see more houses? And she looked at me sort of taken aback and she said, well, my obligation is to show you these two houses. You now have 48 hours to pick one and decide which one you want, or you go back to the bottom of our waiting list. And that triggered me. Immediately, I was livid. Not at her specifically, because she's only following the rules of Island Palm, but I got in the car with my husband and I was like, call our realtor. We're going to see more houses. We are absolutely not living on post. The fact that they showed me two homes, both of which were dated and I didn't care for and whatever. And if I didn't pick one, they were going to put me back to the bottom of a waiting list when I was about to give them $100,000 for this property. Blew my mind. As a realtor now, I want you to think about this. If I am your realtor and I take you out house hunting and I show you two properties and I say, okay, buyer who's about to spend $100,000 or more on this house for the next 3 years, I've shown you two houses. Pick one of these two, or you have to wait 4 more weeks before you talk to me again because I'm putting you back to the bottom of my waiting list. You would never talk to me again. You'd fire me immediately as a realtor. But on base housing gets away with it because it's their policy and people don't think twice about it, even though they're spending the same amount of money. So for me, that's what snapped me back to, okay, I need to have an investment mindset about this. No home is going to be perfect here, whether you live on base, whether you rent, whether you buy. No home is going to be your dream home. And you shouldn't expect it to. Nobody is moving to Hawaii, not even me, who's retired here now. I don't own my forever home. The reason that we decided to buy here was because our market is strong and it gave us a great platform and stepping stones to continue to invest in ourselves and get to the point where we have financial freedom, where we are buying our dream home because we didn't throw away that $100,000 just giving it back to on-base housing. So we contacted our realtor. We did end up buying a 1,400 square foot house that was $660,000. And honestly, I had to get rid of half of everything that I owned. We got a square high top table. We got a smaller love seat. We got rid of, tons of stuff. But at the end of the day, that stuff wasn't going to make me any money either. It was just stuff. We sold it all. We used the money that we made from selling it to buy Hawaii size furniture. We lived in that first house for 2.5 years, sold it, and made $70,000. So, really, anything that I lost or sold or had to get rid of, I could definitely replace with the $70,000 I made from that investment, making that short term sacrifice. So, even though we had just come off of this great experience, making $100,000. Oh my God, I'm so impressed. I believe in real estate so strongly that I quit my job to become a realtor. Even though I was doing all of those things, I was still taken so aback by the real estate market here and how different it is and how small homes are here and how expensive it is and all the things that you are probably thinking that I hear from clients every day. I felt them too. I know firsthand the Rolodex of things that are going through your mind. But ultimately, for me, I decided that if I was going to make some degree of sacrifice, no matter what housing option I went with, I was at least going to pick the option that dollars to donuts is going to give me some sort of return on that investment, some sort of tangible something that I can reinvest or say, hey, we bought a house in Hawaii and yeah, we had to get rid of our dining table, but we made $50,000. I wanted at least some juice from that squeeze. So, if you're in that same space, if you're having all these thoughts, I encourage you to reach out to me. Keep checking out the website, check out our other social media. I'm a military spouse first and foremost. My family has been where your family is now, and I'm just here to help any way I can.